Spread your wings and fly, go!
Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Comrade Zero Spike, back again once again. And today we're here for Zenkaiger episode 40. Now this is a very heartwarming, awesome, very, just about all serious kind of episode, and it was pretty immaculate. We end up, if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode. But we end up saving Kaito's dad in this episode, and I'm gonna tell you how we do it. So basically, we start off where last episode ended off, where we see that this mech has just appeared in the city, and it turns out this mech is called Hakaizuo, and Hakaizuo is this huge brawling mech that was created by Ichidu. And turns out, we see that this mech is destroying a lot of the city and stuff like that, and we actually see the aftermath and the repercussions of how the city is being destroyed, and how the civilians and stuff are actually dealing with this as well. We haven't seen a lot of that in Zenkaiger. We haven't seen a whole lot of that in Zenkaiger. At least we haven't seen it in a long time. So it's good to see, we're actually seeing that, and seeing that how the civilians are dealing with it. So we see that he ends up beating everybody there except for Stacy, but he ends up defeating everyone there, and he ends up turning back. It turns out that Hakaizuo is Hakaiser. We see that Hakaizuo actually turns back into Hakaiser, so it's his mech, but he can transform into it. He's come back. You see that Hakaiser has like more of a, he's still kind of talking the same, but he has like he has a more serious tone now. He's a more serious kind of like character. None of the things that he really doesn't do any of the things that he was doing before. He has like a long black cape now and everything, and he's so much stronger. So he's fighting. So we see that he's fighting the rest of the Zenkaiger after he knocked them back into their basically their ranger forms, and he's fighting them. He's taking them on, and he's overall beating them. We actually see Flint actually run down there and try to help out, but we see that Gaon actually jumps in the way of Hakaiser's bullets, and he ends up protecting Flint. And we see Zox come in with a kick to the, he tries to kick him, and he ends up, Hakaiser ends up blocking it and stuff like that. We see he's like, okay, we gotta get out of here. He's too strong. So we see that Zox ends up using the Die Ranger gear, which is basically using the Die Ranger gear, summons the White Ranger from the Die Ranger team, which is basically our White Tiger Tommy Oliver, in America. And he ends up using Saba. Well, he's called Saba here in America. He ends up using Saba, and he ends up using an illusion kind of move, where he ends up having like have them play like construction sounds really loudly, and it was funny. It was funny. We see these three construction guys just doing construction in this random dark black void. It was just weird. And so we end up doing that, and they end up using that as a distraction to get away. So Ichidu takes Hakaiser back to Toji Tendo, and he talks about, and Bokuwas basically says that, yeah, I'm glad I ended up giving you a piece of something from the Toji Tendo royal family. So that right there just solidified that the Toji Tendo has been out here for a very, very long time, and they've had multiple leaders. So you see that Bokuwas is part of that Toji Tendo royal family. So maybe later on in Dawn Brothers, because we know that in Dawn Brothers, it kind of spilled, like it's kind of like a part 2 to Zenkaiger, where we see that a lot of they're still basically fighting the Toji Tendo to a degree, because the Gigi is still gonna be there, and a few new enemies in Dawn Brothers as well. So we may see another member of this Toji Tendo royal family So it, considering the fact that they are going to defeat Bokuwas, so he basically asks Ichiru that, what do you plan on doing next? He said, with some fine tuning. After that, I'm going to go back out there and we're going to fully, take out this Zenkaiger. So we go back to, we see that Zox is pissed. Zox is pissed because he's like, I warned them because I knew that if we had done something earlier that, we wouldn't have probably haven't gotten to this point. And they end up, Kaito calls them, the rest of the, the pirate family goes back to the candy shop and they talk about, and Kaito kind of like talks about, when we go fight him again, this has to be the last fight, and if we can't defeat him, then Zox will take him to basically another dimension or outside of the dimension or something like that, and and basically leave him there stranded, which was very this is like a very intense kind of scene where he basically Kaito basically is saying that he's willing to kill his dad if it comes down to it. So that's basically their secondary plan, because they did make a first plan. They did basically make a new plan to take him out, and Jiren Jiren is basically like, no, it's not going to get to that point. You got all of us here with you, and we're backing you up and stuff like that. And they have this, heartwarming kind of, talk with each other, stuff like that. And after that, we see that the next day, basically, well, not really the next day, but we see that Stacy is back in the base, and he's pissed off that how Hakaiser has become. He's talking to Hakaiser and stuff like that, and Hakaiser's not all that friendly to him anymore, and not really messing with him like that anymore. And he tells him he reminds Hakaiser, he tells Hakaiser how does all this feel for you? Like, how does all this feel for you? I mean, you were completely human at first. And he was like, no, I'm not. I was never human. What are you talking about? I was created by Ichiru, and I am Hakaiser. So Hakaiser, after he charges up, he leaves, and he tells him to mind his own business. And we see that Stacy's pissed, and he's like, is this what I wanted? And he sees the schematics for all the schematics and all the data for Hakaijuo, and he takes all this data and he basically puts it on a disc, and he goes to the candy shop, and after everybody's had their talk or whatever, he gives the disc to Flint and tells her to analyze it. And Zox is like, what are you up to? So we see that the next day we end up going, and we see how Hakaijuo appears back in the city. They start fighting him back in the city. They end up using full power Zenkaiger, and we kind of got both of the type of mecha fights in this. We got the CGI fight, because Zenkaijuo is, well, yeah, like Hakaijuo. Dang it, not Hakaizuo. Our Ultrazord, he is always always CGI battle completely. So we see that we switch from suit mecha fight. We switch from CG mecha fight to suit mecha fight. So they ended up using the which was cool. I didn't think that they could, a lot of them could take control fully of our Ultrazord, but we see that Majin ends up using the miracle, which is from the miracle spell, which is basically from Mystic Force / Machi Denja, and they use that to teleport him out of the city completely, so it doesn't cause any more damage. And they go back there, and we have our battle with both of them and stuff like that, and then they get ready to do phase 2 of their plan. But then they see that Zox, he appears there with all of his everything, and he tells them that we have. He doesn't tell them he has the schematics to the Hakaijuo, but he tells them, he said, hey, I got an anonymous tip, and Kaito's able to figure out that Stacy has something to do with this. So he tells them that Hakaiser is still inside of this thing, but he's inside of the head. And when he's inside of the head, he's able to, he's basically like the mainframe for this mech. Basically the mainframe for it. He's basically still controlling it, but he's like asleep inside of this like wired like box. So Zox goes in and tries to find Hakaiser, and they keep battling Hakaijuo, but he basically says that we're gonna keep fighting him, but don't aim for the head. So they basically do a lot of body shots, stuff like that. And we see that Zox gets in there. Zox is in there. He sees Hakaiser like in this wired like coffin cockpit, and he's getting ready to like, shoot him out of it, like break all the wires to shoot him out. But that's when Ijiru sends a bunch of Kudaks and Kudaizers to basically fight off Zox. We see that Zox ends up defeating all of them, and he ends up getting Hakaiser out of there. And as soon as he takes Hakaiser out, Hakaijuo goes berserk, and that's when we get our Dino on Dino kind of Dino mech on Dino mech kind of fight, where we see the rest of the Zenkaiger, they leave and go and basically take on Hakaiser and try to remind him who he is. And we see Stacy, he's watching from afar. He's seeing everything that's going on, which I would have liked if Stacy kind of helped them a little bit, maybe. But he knew that this was like, I guess he knew that this was like their fight, so he has like really no place in this. But he just sat back and watched that, and we see Zox and Kaito end up turning into Super Zenkai, Super Zenkaijuo, and these names, and we got a really, really, really cool fight between Hakaijuo and Zenkaijuo. So they're fighting him and stuff like that, and while on the ground, we see that the rest of the Zenkaiger, they are using reminding him of who he is by having telling him memories and stuff like that. They got all this information on him. Like, they got information on him from when he was like a kid in high school, and when he met his wife, and all the and the research they went into together, and them getting married, and they got like the dates and everything. They even got the date like when him and his wife went missing. I got all that stuff. And it started to like kind of work a little bit. They're not like fighting him, but they're basically like holding him down and telling him what's going on. So we see the rest of we see that Kaito and Zox are still fighting Hakaijuo, and Hakaijuo like grows wings and gets ready to fire this huge blast at them. And we see Flint come in, and Flint they end up using the crocodile. They end up using crocodile. It turns out crocodile can turn into like a giant bazooka, and and they ended up using Ricky and Katana, and they ended up firing this huge blast at Hakaijuo, and basically utterly destroying him. He is like disintegrated, and I kind of wish they didn't fully destroy him, because I really like Hakaijuo. This mech was absolutely awesome. The design, the powers of it, just how berserk it was. It was really, really cool. It was like a big Mecha Godzilla. But yeah, man. So they end up defeating Hakaijuo, and that's when Zox and Kaito get back down to help the others. And we see Kaito as he henching up, and the way he transforms was absolutely freaking dope. And we see that he ends up getting into like a shootout match with Hakaiser, and he ends up defeating Hakaiser. And after Hakaiser gets reminded of who he is and stuff like that, and instead of when he loses power and stuff like that, this time not the helmet comes off. Well, the helmet comes off, but the entire suit comes off this time. And we see that he wakes up, and he talks to Kaito and remembers Kaito and all that stuff, and that's it basically. And we see how pissed off Bokuwas was when they ended up defeating Hakaiser. We see Gigi, he's standing there, he's flying around, he's like, "Ooh, it's almost time." So I was just like, what is this bird talking about? If you didn't know, man, this bird is up to something. Okay, I've always had a bad feeling about this freaking bird, and this is starting to prove it even more. So they get back to the candy shop and they take Kaito's dad back there, and we see he talks to grandma. And turns out, I didn't know this, but grandma Kaito's grandma is Kaito's dad's mom. So yeah, he's like, "Hey mom, I'm home," and she's like, "What took you so long?" And it's a very beautiful, heartfelt moment, things like that. And the rest of the Zenkaiger basically is like, "Hey, it's a day late, but here's your birthday present." And he's like, "Yeah, it's awesome." So this and that episode basically ends off right there with the Christmas tree up there, and it says Merry Christmas, which I hope everybody had a good Christmas, man. All right, but anyway, we see that the episode ends off right there, and we're going right back to the silly in the next week's episode. And it looks like they're cooking, making it's a lot of dough. So I don't know. I thought pizza, but yeah. So this is a great episode. It kind of left me wanting more because there's so much material here where they could go on even longer in this, but. Other than that, though, this is a great episode. I loved it. The only bad thing I could say about this episode was it just left me wanting more in this, and I really love this episode. Now we got dad back. Gotta go get mama now. Gotta pull that plot point back out of here. I feel like they really forgot about. But other than that, this was a great episode, man. I'm hoping, and now we're actually going to start seeing Kaito's dad be involved in in some of the things that they're going to be doing. I kind of wish that Hakaiser was a transformation for him now, and he has full control over it, and it basically is like his ranger form. So yeah, but maybe that'll happen. Maybe that'll happen down the line. We don't know, but yeah. So. With that being said, everybody, this is a great episode. You guys let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about this episode? And what did you think about, them saving Kaito's dad? And all the crap that happened in this episode was freaking awesome. But with that being said, everybody, you guys let me know all that down in the comment section below. I will see you guys next time. Make sure to like, share, subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it if you all subscribe to the channel. And I'm going to see you guys next time. And remember, stay henshin.